Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and with me now I have Spencer X. Smith with Spencer X. Smith Consulting. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And today we're talking about how anybody can be a social media rock star. And I just love that idea that everybody can be that. And I guess, what do you mean when you say that everybody can be a social media rock star? Do you really mean it?
I do. I do. I think it's so much easier to become quote unquote famous than it used to be, because so many people have their very, very specific niches that they enjoy, and if you can lead that group by doing things that are valuable for them and serving them, then I think you can become famous to that group.
That's a really interesting idea that I don't know if people maybe realize or think that, you know, everybody kind of has an equal opportunity in whatever group or maybe interests they have, that everybody kind of has a fair shot if you can do something that's new and fresh and bring something people, you know, that's engaging, really.
Yeah, and the vast majority of people consume things on the internet. So if you're the one producing things, then you by default become that leader.
So what would you say is a strategy for social media, or is, I guess, there a strategy that always works, that's foolproof?
Yeah, authenticity.
Yeah,
authenticity.
okay.
And the reason I say that is now everybody has the ability to have their own broadcast media at any time, right? They pull out their cell phone and they're live. And so if you're actually living your values, so your cultural values, who you say you are as a person, who you say you are as a business, then people will actually see that and they'll begin to trust you more. So they'll do away with all the noise that they see and actually begin to listen and trust you.
That's an interesting point, because I think sometimes you do see people or businesses and you can just maybe tell they're trying too hard, or they'll post something where you're like, that just doesn't sound like natural. So I think that authenticity is a really good point. And I know I've heard from people before, like, oh, isn't social media just, you know, a waste of time? I don't want to show people what I'm eating for lunch or take a picture of this salad or things like that. I guess, what do you have to say to that, people who do say that?
What I hear a lot of people say is exactly what you had mentioned. You know, I don't want to share my entire life and stuff that I think is boring.
Yeah.
But what I'd ask you to consider is, if you were to think about the average person and say, well, I see this person moving their mouth and having words come out, and I'm really not interested in that. Well, that's fundamentally what's happening online now. Instead of having one-on-one conversations, we're having conversations at scale. So instead of looking at the mechanism, look at what's being said and how it's being said, and understand that you have tremendous value. You just probably don't know it if you haven't started doing this yet.
So how do you know then what to post or where to post and that sort of thing?
I always ask people to default to helping other people look good first. And we've seen this forever in traditional media, in the sense that people will buy ads, as an example, to highlight their clients.
Sure.
And we don't necessarily need to do that on social media. Instead of bragging about ourselves, we can find great news about people that we enjoy and share that in the public eye, and they'll be forever grateful to you.
That's a great point, and I think a great starting point, too. If you're unsure what to post, it's always great to just lift other people up.
For sure.
Absolutely, and usually they'll reciprocate that then.
Yes, yeah, it creates the virtuous cycle, right?
Right,
Yeah.
which is always great.
Yeah.
So all of that being said, you know, how much time should you spend on social media? Because I know personally with myself, sometimes it can be like a black hole, you know, where then I'll just spend hours and hours looking through social media. So how do you find that balance maybe?
I ask people to consider how much time, first of all, they're willing to spend and what a successful outcome would look like. So in the sense, if you say, well, I know I can spend 20 minutes justifiably, all right, literally set a timer. So tell your phone, set timer for 20 minutes.
Sure.
And when it goes off, then be done. So think about, what can I do in that period of time to most benefit what I'm trying to do with my personal brand and my business, and default to those things. When the timer goes off, then walk away and feel good about it.
I think that's a really valuable lesson. I know I've heard of people doing that before too with emails, because if you start in your email, I know for me, I could probably spend the whole day. So if you set guidelines, and then you kind of feel better about it, I would think too, when you end up walking away from it, that you already have set a time to come back and you kind of have a plan.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true?
As opposed to people being apathetic and doing nothing, to do something and then feel good about actually doing something reinforces that behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about this too, quick before we go. We've only got about 30 seconds. But what if a platform I choose goes under? I know Vine recently, you know, is ending. Would it be a huge waste of time then?
In my estimation, no. And the thing I always bring up is, if people have learned to type, okay, on a typewriter or keyboard, and now they know how to text, well, you never took texting lessons. It transferred.
Right.
Okay, so if you practice distilling your ideas in your mind and sharing those and adding value to an audience, it doesn't matter what platform it is. It's always going to be important.
Easy to transfer.
Yes.
It'll be an easy transition.
Yes.
Some great advice, some great information. I'm excited. I'd love to learn more. We'll have to have you back again sometime.
Thank you.
And again, this is Spencer X. Smith with Spencer X. Smith Consulting. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. And we'll be back with more Talk of the Town right here on Wisconsin's 57 after this.